One moment here. We're gonna let everybody, and maybe actually you already have. You did, sorry. Yep, you're all set, Mr. Stowe. Have a good meeting.
Thank you, Seth. You have a good night. Good evening. Welcome to the November 7th Scituate Conservation Commission meeting. Just a couple of quick things to read here first. This meeting is, if I can find it, Town of Scituate, Mass has a commitment to diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion. The Scituate Conservation Commission is committed to providing an environment of respect during their meetings. We ask that all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there is disagreement. We value the participation of all of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcome and respected. And we ask that our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards and to support and respect the community. And then, I wonder how much longer we'll be reading this. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You're hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the Town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. So having said all that, I need to ask if there's anything that needs to be added or omitted from the agenda.
Frank, I think the only additions that we have are those that might come up during the meeting. And also a set of orders for 126 Turner.
Okay. I might have a couple of things to add on our trails and parking if time permits, but try to move things along this evening. Okay. Get a motion to accept the agenda.
I make a motion, we accept the agenda with the add-ons that Amy mentioned possibly.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that. Doug.
All in favor is Doug. Or second is Doug. So all in favor, Richard.
Yep.
And Andy's not here tonight, right?
No,
So Brendan
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay,
Andy's at Disney,
good for him.
Good for him.
Yeah. took the kids.
Good. All right, so 184 Edward Foster Road, Joseph Harold. Amy, do you want to?
So I think that we've got Paul Marabito on the call here somewhere. Let me look for him. And Bill Laurenberger, I'm gonna say Bill wants to speak too, so I'm gonna ask to unmute Bill. And
Hello, Bill Arnberger. I represent the applicant Joe Harold. And just in a brief summary, and Paul, you can correct me, is Paul and engineers at Merrill have worked with the town's consulting engineer. Excuse me, I misspoke. I didn't mean Merrill, I meant at Grady. I've been working with the town's consulting engineer, Deborah Keller. And I think since the last time we met, I think they've satisfactorily addressed the commission and the consulting engineer's issues. The storm scepters, as far as I know, those were turned in some time ago for the DPW. I think verbally, the DPW, Sean McCarthy has reviewed them, they're okay. There's a condition in here in the draft orders, which looks fine to us, saying that obviously that's something that has to be in writing, reduced to writing from the commission standpoint. Amy was kind enough, thank you, Amy, for getting us these conditions just for our review. And other than we had a question on just one, everything else looks copacetic. Really appreciate the commission's fighting the weather here and the stabilization to have allowed us to move forward with the alacrity that we have. I think one of the things, just on a technical basis, way back in our first meeting, there was a vote of the commission, so I don't think we need anything under 9.2 of the stormwater regulations to allow for, because we have a coastal storm flowage. And the commission took a vote at that point and said it's fine, subject to, as long as the town's consulting engineers find that that's acceptable, which I believe we're at that point. So at this juncture, on that one question, when it's appropriate, we'll ask the one question. But other than that, I think everything's real good from our end.
Anything more from Paul?
Hey, Jake, knock it off. Stop it.
Okay,
There's a hand up.
is
That's Gabe Padilla.
Gabe, you're on.
Gabe?
Hi, good evening. Yes, I am Gabriel Padilla with Grady Consulting. So yeah, how Mr. Ornberger pointed out, we added the last comments that were brought up by the commission on the last hearing, namely the biggest changes here in the plan were swales on both sides of the property, making sure that runoff is collected down at the lower part. We have concrete galleys for the roofs, and we also added an additional storm scepter than what we had already on site. So we will have storm scepters treating the stormwater runoff from Edward Foster Road, as well as all the runoff from Mr. Joe's house. If you have any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Amy, do you want to? Comment at this
So
time?
just as, I mean, a summary for where we left off. So there were, some outstanding stormwater items that were resolved. So we do have the sign off from your peer consultants on anything that was relative to the stormwater permit. So we're just down to the project, and I think we've met on the project a number of times now. So I think it's really down to the board, and if there's anything in particular that you're not seeing that you want, or that's not making sense. But I mean, you've got a project that's land subject to coastal storm flowage and set up back from the beach and the seawall. I think the project speaks for itself. It does appear to meet the requirements of the Wetlands Protection Act in the town stormwater bylaw. So as far as that goes, I think you're good to close. It's just as whether you're looking for additional mitigation or plantings. But I mean, there's also a landscape plan that they have that's not up on the screen right now, but we talked about that at the previous meeting as well. Pretty a thorough landscape plan that they have for the property as well.
Can I ask one?
Yeah, I'm going to roll around to members, but why don't you go first, Penny?
Oh, no, I wanted to more than anything ask Amy. Are we going to close and issue orders tonight?
That's up to you guys. I mean, I sent out the tentative orders.
Yeah.
So, if
Okay.
you feel that you have everything you need. I'm not sure if you're looking for other stuff too, but.
No, okay, I'm all set, Frank. That's the only thing I wanted to know. I'd love to see this project move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. Richard?
Yeah, actually, I'm all set.
Okay. Doug?
I've got no more questions.
Okay. Brendan?
I have no additional questions either.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience for this one?
Seeing none, Frank.
Okay. I just want to be sure, Bill, if you can hold on 1 second. We've talked a lot about the storm scepters, and I know there was some last minute back and forth to try to make sure that this got worked out with the town engineer. And do we have a full plan for that? I was just trying to search through.
Yeah, we have copies of what was given to the DPW, so yes.
Okay, and that includes the storm scepter for the property itself? I mean, it's my understanding there'll be
Yeah,
two
we
of
have
these.
both. Yeah,
So we have those, and and Merrill has had a chance to review those, and they're
they
Yes,
have,
it is.
Frank, yep, yep.
okay. I've looked at this enough times, but I think those were the big items for me were that the town looked at the storm scepters and felt that that was going to work well. Is there a time frame put on those, Amy?
There's not a condition that states a time frame for them to do the work in the road, no.
Is that something that you think we should put in, like they should be done prior to?
Well, I think the condition is all the stormwater work should be done as early in the process as possible.
Okay,
Thank-
all right, and of course it would have to be done before there's a CFC, right? Or at least a full CFC.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Can I make a motion?
Sure.
I make a motion to close.
We have a motion from Penny. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. I wonder if we could add issue.
You want to say that, Penny?
Yes, no, I'm sorry. I make a motion to close and issue tonight.
And I'll second it.
Second by Richard. All in favor, Doug
Yes.
and Brendan
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay. Thank you, Bill.
The only
Oh, I'm
one,
sorry.
the only one, Bill Armberger, the only one question at the outset they were asking is number 28 of the conditions is no in-ground irrigation system. We're wondering if that, and this is in light for initial stabilization and continued stabilization. If we just said unless approved by the Board of Health, obviously it's something that would have to be a private well using no municipal facilities, but if we could have just add the words unless approved by the Scituate Board of Health, that's what we'd request, just so that we don't run into a pickle.
We've allowed other entities to install that. I think we did it at the end of Old Driftway. Obviously, Toll is doing it. I think there's a few other larger subdivisions. Amy, what are your thoughts?
As
That's fine.
long as they have their own well.
Commission members?
It's fine with me.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. Do we need to vote that, or are we good with that consensus? Doug?
Well, we're not in the voting part of this stage right now, but I'll word that in and you guys can look at the new draft, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Forward.
30 Manchester, I think we have a request for a continuance, right?
Did we vote?
We did.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did. Okay.
close.
Yeah, we did
Right.
voted and then Bill brought that up because I forgot to return to him.
Right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night,
Have a
Bill.
good night. So 30 Manchester, we have a request for continuance, but I got two of them here with two different dates.
What dates?
December 5th. So we want to continue 30 Manchester to December 5th.
Okay, I'll make a motion to continue 30 Manchester to December 5th.
We have a second
I'll second that.
from Doug. All in favor, Richard,
Yep.
Brendan,
Yes,
and Frank. So Amy, are we gonna try for next week to get out to Humrock before, or sometime before that? We're trying to look at the Fourth Cliff with the repairs proposed by the Navy. When does that hearing even come up, or when do we hear from them?
We just received a new notice of intent for a new project out there.
Okay,
and I think that that's gonna be on for the December 5th, but I'm not sure. We literally just received it. In fact, I'm not sure we even have electronic copies of it.
okay.
But yeah, if we can get out to Humrock next week, that would be great, or even this week.
Yeah, this week's gonna be tough
Yeah,
for me, but if we could do something next week, we could find a few of us to make
Yeah.
that trip.
Next week is much easier for me from now on. After the election, it's much easier for me. So,
Oh,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was part of it too, because you,
That's
Yeah.
tomorrow.
okay,
so almost any day next week should be good for me.
okay. Well, we'll work on a time for that and see what we can do.
And it's a long trip for me though. So, yeah.
Well, that's what I said.
Right.
Well, it's one of the few trips that you don't have to go very
That's
far.
right. And I promise I'll have coffee for everybody if you really want to come down here,
There
No
we go.
problem. I'm serious.
It's too bad it gets dark so early.
Okay. Come in the morning if you can.
I was thinking more later in the day.
That's true too. Come at 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon. We
Right.
can have some fun
All
after
right,
we work.
okay, all right. So we got a motion and a second, and we voted that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. 6 Pine Brook Lane. This was continued. And we have somebody from Grady.
so there's a motion to continue this in your folder too, Frank.
Oh, no.
So there's a motion to continue Pine Brook to 11/21.
Yep, sorry about that. Can we
Yeah,
get a motion?
I'll
And we're
make a
okay with
motion to
that? We-
continue. I'll make a motion to continue 6 Pine Brook Lane to 11/21/22.
That's Richard. We have a second.
I'll
Second.
second that.
Brendan, all in favor? Doug,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes,
and Frank, yes.
On that
Okay.
one, we were waiting for feedback and a revised plan from Grady. Feedback from DPW, like the other one we just had. They're also doing some drainage work. And so that's why that one was continued.
Got it.
Now this next one is a new one. I think you should be reading this one.
Yep.
opening this one.
So this is number 25 Julian Street. On 11/7/22 at 6 p.m. the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Mass General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Robert Wolf for work related to raising and reconstructing a single-family dwelling, installing a new septic system on location 25 Julian Street. Scituate abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting is available on the agenda posted on the town website. Okay, we have
We have
someone. from-
Josh Green from Merrill Associates
Okay.
on for this.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Josh.
Josh Green, Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors.
I know which house it is.
Sorry, my Zoom's bugging out. There we go. So as stated, representing the applicant Robert Wolf for 25 Julian Street. It's under existing conditions as a single family house with a block foundation with a deck on the side. That would be, I believe, the east side of the structure, and then on the water side as well. kind of stretching out over the existing coastal dune. The septic for the property is in the gravel parking area to the west of the structure. It's got the septic tank inside what's shown as the existing garage for the house. It's an elevated septic tank. And as far as resource areas, there is a FEMA zone in the area of the property, as well as the development itself of the property is built into a coastal dune. And the entirety is a barrier beach system. Proposed, we are looking to raise the existing house and put on a new single-family house on piles. We'd remove the deck from the side and the projection that goes out over the coastal dune that is mostly vegetated currently. In the place of that, we'd be bringing the deck in to go along the whole backside, and then the area that is kind of left over that was deck originally will be planted with American beach grass for mitigation. The only other work would be the utilities, reworking the utility connections, as well as relocating the septic tank that is on site currently. I think with that, the only other thing is the erosion control that goes around the site that'll serve as both the erosion control and the limit of work. I think with that, I'd open it up to questions.
Okay, thank you. Amy, do you want to comment on this one first?
Sure. So I mean, I've been out to this site, actually a number of times. You know, it's a cottage right on the sand dune, and it's surrounded by pretty good vegetation. So, I mean, it would be good to get the site elevated. I don't know. I don't think it's got Board of Health approval though, Josh. What's the status with Board of Health?
I'm trying to work out what we need to do with it, because it's just the relocation right now of the septic tank. So there's going to be something. I'm just trying to figure out with them what to file.
Because I would think that we're not going to want to close until the septic is worked out on this one.
That's too bad.
But it should be driven wooden piles for this particular site. You know, you've got the land subject, barrier beach, and coastal dune, so that's pretty straightforward. That would make that compliant. As far as it's a fairly decent expansion of this house that they're seeking. And also in a seaward direction. So, I mean, I guess I would want to see the disturbance minimal to the existing vegetation, which I think can be accomplished. So that's my comments.
Richard?
I'd like to know, and maybe it's on here, but I'm not getting the whole picture, the changes, the additional space that's being used for the house as opposed to what it is now.
In regards to,
In other words, how many square feet are being increased for the house?
like just footprint size or interior?
Footprint.
Footprint. I don't have that. I know the impervious is increasing by about 20% for the site overall, which is mostly the house. Because it should actually only be the house because it's gravel driveway, so it should be approximately that.
I'd like to know the total increase in size of.
If we're gonna think
can't
that
do
we're
it
gonna
otherwise.
continue, let's make a list of things we're looking for. So,
Yeah, and then we need details on the new septic system as well. Maybe, and like I said, I can't see everything on my screen here. Some of it's cut off a little, so I could be missing it, and I apologize if I am, but we need those details.
I've got the whole thing up in front of me and I'm not seeing it.
Okay.
So that's the square footage of the building.
I think the existing and the proposed, Josh, including the deck.
The impervious calc is in the bottom left of the plan, if you're looking for everything.
Yeah, I do see that.
Right above
I
the
do see
zoning.
that. There you go.
Under the stormwater.
Yeah, that's helpful. Whoops. It's moving. Is it going to continue to be a one-story house?
No, it would be two. I believe that definition too.
Yeah, okay. I don't mean to be difficult, but we've had a few down here that start off as one and they end up being three. So, no, I'm done for
Well,
now.
let me
I-
move ahead. I'll
yeah,
move ahead. You can circle back.
Thank you.
Doug?
There's, Josh, looks like there's some grading being proposed underneath the location of the new house.
Yes,
What's the purpose in that?
that's just when you take the foundation wall, you've got to connect the grades. So right now you've got existing foundation wall holding up that dune.
So there's okay, that's what I'm trying to find. So there's an existing wall out there now. You take that down, then you've got to grade it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
I see.
the existing wall is just the foundation of the existing house
And you're also proposing a new retaining wall.
along that
Left-
left side, so we don't
left
impact the butter.
All right. And is there a new septic system?
Nope, we're leaving the leaching field.
Okay.
Our
Yeah.
understanding is it's still functioning, normally.
Okay. So you're just going to relocate the septic tank itself,
Correct.
do some grading to smooth out the lot, and then put the house up on piers.
Yes.
And it
Got it.
also looks like a lot of the increase is a wood deck. Does that wrap around?
I'll get the
Yeah.
exact, so we're swapping, it does not wrap around. The only thing there's nothing on the
So the
southeast side of the proposed structure.
Okay, so the notation that says wood deck, is that existing then on the right-hand side of the house?
Correct.
That's existing, okay.
Yes.
So that comes out, all right, so really the footprint. So the hatched line, that is the existing house. And you're saying it's about a 20%?
Yeah, good. The total impervious area goes from 948 to 1137.
Okay.
Doug, if I'm reading this right, you're looking at the plan as well. It looks like it expands about maybe between 6 and 8 feet towards the water and maybe 10 feet on the south side.
Yeah, there's like a big deck in the back though. 12 by 34 deck, so that extends the length of the house.
Right. But
So
is that new?
That would be new.
That's proposed, yeah, so that's not, that is impervious, right?
It's
Or
a deck's considered impervious.
yeah, so there's no roof over that, so I'm just, it doesn't look that. I can buy 20%, it doesn't look like it's much bigger than that. Oh, now I can make it out. Yeah, it's kind of squaring off that house, moving it over to the right a little bit. All right, I got it. Yeah, that looks pretty straightforward. And is there architecturals already on the piers?
We did submit a pile plan. I believe it had the architectural cross sections.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. All right, I'm good.
Okay. Brendan?
Doug has taken all of my questions.
All right.
I'm good right now. Thank you.
Okay. Penny, did I call on you yet?
No, but I don't have any questions, so we can move along, dear.
Okay.
I'm all set.
Do we have anybody in the audience for this?
Seeing none, Frank.
Okay.
And one thing, Josh, I was just confirming that this did get sent to Fish and Wildlife and out to the other agencies. comment? Because this just is in the area where we typically might get a bird letter.
I don't
Any
think I
habitat?
have, well, the work's just outside natural heritage. We did put that on the plan. It's I think the pink line, if I'm reading mine correctly. But
Okay, thanks.
that sort of purplish line is the limit of natural heritage.
Okay. And we don't have anybody in the audience? So you
Unfranked.
said we do have a pile plan, right? And they're driven piles.
yes,
And the deck is brand new. There's nothing there now, patio or anything else. There was just nothing on the front of that house.
on the water side,
Yes.
there was a deck that goes out. You can see where it's underneath the proposed deck, and then it also goes out further towards the ocean where that
Yes.
mitigation area is.
Okay. So is that being removed?
Yes, so that 100 square feet that's right on top of the dune will be
Mhm.
planted with American beach grass, and then that's all we're doing is kind of pulling the deck back to go along the whole side instead of wrapping around and then protruding out into the dune.
Got it. Josh, they call it a utility core? It says,
I'd have to go to the architect on that one. I think it's just where all the utilities come in. It's just a room because this is up on piles, so all the utilities coming in from grade, they have to meet at some point and then go up to the house.
so there'll
so-
be an enclosure at grade or something?
Yep.
Okay. And then I was just wondering about the plantings. Is there American beach grass around that or is it just that?
I actually don't have it printed, but there's a mix of vegetation. I can confirm, for the next meeting that was one of the species, but the wetland scientist did identify a few. So if it wasn't, I'll change it to match one of the other species that was highlighted.
Yeah, that's fine. What I was wondering was, I've not been on the site and it says vegetated dune, but I just don't know. It's a fairly decent expansion. So I'm just wondering what additional plantings would be helpful for that site. If we know of anything that might be beneficial in terms of reducing erosion.
I
Beyond,
think there's probably beach rows out there. but-
okay,
That might be a good idea, Frank, to get a consultation with or have the applicants, wetland scientists, have a planting plan with more than one.
There is quite a bit of beach grass out there, but it's not in the best of shape, but it is out there.
I'm just thinking that would be, I think, decent mitigation for this site, given
Mhm.
the expansion. And then just, and I see we got somebody with a hand up. We'll get to that in 1 second. So there's an area that's sort of hatched within the house, and if you really look closely, it says an underground garage or
It's just garage under. So it's not at the same level of the house. We basically drive in.
and that's being removed as part of the house.
Correct. And Monica, that was raising her hand as part of the team. If we could, she may have had an answer for one of the questions I didn't have.
Okay. We'll get her. Maybe you can unmute Monica.
I throw out another question. Just, I'm sure you looked at this. There's not a coastal bank here, is there?
I don't believe so. I know I did look at it, but I'll put in the report. I believe it has to be
I think
absent of
dune.
coastal dune.
It's all dune,
So if you
yeah.
have a coastal dune, you
All
can't
dune.
have both.
Okay,
It's all
thanks.
doing there.
I,
On the governor's claim, Walker has been endorsed by former President Trump, Governor Brian Kemp.
Can we let Monica on?
Hi.
Good
Can you hear me?
evening. Yes,
Hi. I have a design build firm. I'm potentially building this. It's all.
can you just give us your name and address, Monica, please?
Yep, my name's Monica McKenzie. My address is 5 Alden Road. It's in Hingham, Mass. 02043.
Okay,
I was hired by Mr. Wolf to try to change the beach cottage into a more substantial year-round dwelling. I was out there with Amy initially. I just wanted to answer the question that the dune where the deck currently is, the elevations are high there. It's all beach rows. There's beach rows surrounding the entire front of this property. And that's what's keeping the dune so high there. The house itself, when you go into the house, you cannot see the beach or the water at all because the house is so much lower and the dune is so much higher because of the beach rows. I thought that was something that you guys were asking.
that's helpful. Thank you.
And so the deck in the back that is currently there is kind of your only area that you can actually see the water and everything. So you have to go outside of the house and you have to walk up steps to get to the current deck, which is surrounded by beach rows. So there's no way to get from this house down onto the beach without going onto the right side where that current deck is heading to the, I guess it would be the right of way onto the beach.
Mhm.
And they're totally fine not having any access to the beach and extend, going the way they always go to the beach there, off to the side through the right of way. They put the septic system in. I think he told me 3 years ago, but I think when I looked at it, it was 5 years ago. So it's a 3-bedroom septic tank that he is relatively new. If we have to move it, we'll move it. But I think we were kind of trying to decide what you guys thought would be our best way to get this thing accomplished. Looking for some guidance.
So right now I see that there's an existing septic tank on the left. As we look at that,
Mhm.
right?
Yep, when you pull into the proposed gravel parking area, you can see underneath and you could potentially park under there because the house deck is higher. And then you would reach eventually the back wall, which is the existing dwelling wall that's, against the dune is sort of up against.
So are you suggesting that they may leave the septic tank there as opposed to the relocation spot, or?
Nope, whatever anybody thinks is the best thing to do, we will do.
We're not in the septic design. It looks like it's 6 to 1, half a dozen. The other, for me, it's on one side or the other. So
the architect is also on this meeting. His name is Dan. I don't think he's been unmuted. But he has all the questions for square footage and architectural plans. If you want to ask him to join, he could probably do that. I know he's on.
does anybody else, Doug, what do you thought? I don't really see the difference with the septic.
No, it looks like what's proposed though isn't that some sort of a treatment system, Josh?
No, that's just an above ground septic tank. There's just some extra precautions that go with it because it's above ground.
Oh, all right. So it's elevated.
Yeah.
So it's all that stuff I'm looking at, it's not actually treatment. That's just,
Correct.
and so the other one's below ground, the existing.
No, existing, it's same one. They went through a lot with the last one to get the septic tank exactly how Board of Health wanted it. So that's why we're really just going to relocate it. We don't want to go down the road of trying to get it underground or anything like that.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it matters to us. Like you're going to pull it, you have to reattach it anyways.
Yeah.
Get it out of the way, build the house, reattach it. So whatever
That's-
works. I don't think
Yeah.
it, from our perspective, I don't think that matters.
Because the leaching fields stay in the same spot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We don't care where the tank goes.
So that tank, does it just sit at grade?
In this case, pretty much. There's ones that are elevated off ground, but in this case, just because of how much higher this site is than the VE zone, it's pretty much at grade.
And does that get anchored to like piers or something to keep it from shifting in a storm or?
It's got concrete blocks around it. So that this is just similar to the vault that we were talking about. There is protection around this to deal with any storm damage.
Dumb question, but why can't it go underground?
Because we're in a VE zone. Title V doesn't let us.
VE zone. Yep, gotcha. Yep.
Even though the grade's above the VE zone, we still have to have it above ground.
Right. Horizontally located V zone. Right. Okay.
Amy, what about that retaining wall on that side? Is that allowable there?
Well, I mean, the deal with walls, Frank. So no new walls. I mean, it's good that they're taking the foundation out, but the proposed retaining wall, that's not something that would be favorable.
What's the rationale for that, Josh?
Well, I guess two things on that one. What we're trying to achieve there is basically not just to leave the foundation wall there, because we had gone through that, trying to think about that. So it, on the water side, starts at the back of the existing foundation and goes forward to the existing retaining wall. So there's no new footprint there. And it's really, if we take that down, we're going to impact the abutters parking that's right on the property line. So if we take a wall down, let the grades fall out how they would be, we'd be causing damage to potentially their property. So we want to essentially keep that, area stabilized how it is under existing conditions.
But the whole intent of this whole elevation is so that we allow the coastal dune to move, shift, and migrate. So that's why the walls are not favored.
I'm thinking about, Richard, you'll remember it's on the other end of that location where we allowed some of the walls to stay and it turned into a nightmare.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I mean, his point is right, of course, when you remove a foundation, you all of a sudden got a new flow available for water if it does come up. That's always the downside of the deal, but we don't allow walls. And so that could be an issue.
But it's okay, Amy, that brings me to the other question. It's okay to have this septic tank with a enclosure around it.
No, I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I'm just thinking about Townway Extension.
Right.
They were able to have the tank in the ground because the septic is accessory to the dwelling. It's the same thing with Inner Harbor Road. So I think that because it's Title V, you're required to allow them to have this Title V improvement to the home, because without it, they wouldn't be able to live there, right?
Right.
But that's not the same thing for this retaining wall. So for a septic tank, it's okay, but not for anything else.
Okay.
Well, wonder if they just left the wall, the foundation wall in place.
Well, it might not really stand up.
No, probably wouldn't.
All that well.
Well, let's.
That was our intent, to pretty much hold that line of where the foundation is. I mean, it's an improvement over the current situation. If the retaining wall isn't there, it's almost, I just don't want the applicant to go back to a foundation, a full foundation for the house on the existing footprint, and now we have less of the flow of the coastal dune as far as the migration of the sand. So I think the site as proposed is an improvement over existing additions and a proposed poured foundation.
Well, we wouldn't allow a poured foundation there, Josh.
But is that what's theirs now, though?
It's a
Full
block foundation. So I mean,
Yeah,
a
it is.
concrete foundation, I guess, not
Yeah.
poured.
And they can't add fill or anything to,
We could, I can look at it.
I don't want
I know I can fill part of it, but we're getting awfully close to the septic and I know that's at the max for fill over it because it's in a parking area. But I can certainly look at it.
but that wall extends all the way up way past where the leaching area is.
Yeah, that's just one of the areas. That's why I said I'd have to look at that back area to see if it grades out. My concern is the abutter, just having that come down. Because I'd be projecting the grades that are right now proposed under the house further, what is that, southwest,
And if I
down
remember,
towards the parking area.
and if I remember, the abutter is quite close.
Yeah,
Yeah, looks that way.
Hmm.
Hmm.
When you come out to Hammerock, maybe we got to go there too. So people can see it's not as easy as it looks.
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea because this is a tight site
Yeah.
and it's really all dune. In fact, the filing that we have for this property from like the most recent filing was a NOI that was done post-storm where the owner rebuilt the dune because it was lost
Yep.
in a storm. So they were given approval to revegetate it, which is probably why it's so nicely vegetated, right?
Yep.
But it worked. But now, I mean, I don't know, I might even suggest a technical consult with CZM on what you would do here. Just throwing that out. Because I think it's a challenge on you. I mean, just because they don't have a butter to the south, right? Because it's, well, they do, but it's across the Julian Street
Right.
easement.
Yeah, the house that's
But it's-
across from them is across the street and it's
Yeah,
also,
so it's a-
also very high up.
A good distance away, and it's also set up, right? But it's the
Mhm.
folks immediately to the north that their
Correct.
house is not elevated,
And it's very close. It can't
And
be
it's
more than
quite
15
close.
or 20 feet at the most.
but I don't think that building a wall is the answer,
Right.
though.
No.
I think, Frank, you're probably closer in that it might be importing material to build it up a little bit under there. So giving the dune a place to migrate to, but I mean, it's supposed to move around. You know, it's not supposed to stay still, because that's the nature of a beach, is that constantly shifting sediments. So we want something that's gonna be able to withstand storms. And,
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at existing contours and then it looks like the house to the north has relatively high.
Yes, it is.
So,
And the dune there is
Yeah,
quite
it's
high,
at
as they pointed out.
25.
It's true. It's quite high.
okay. Oh, well, maybe that makes the most sense. If we want to continue this and see if we can get to Humrock
Wait,
next week, maybe on the earlier side, we'll have a chance to just kind of put some eyes to this.
I think it will help you.
Okay.
I have one other question while it's here, though. Just to clarify, way in the back, it says proposed saw cut on existing pavement. I thought it was gravel there.
on that very left side, it looks like the abutter might have had some pavement come over the line, or it's just from old road. But you can see where it says EP in two areas.
Yeah.
There's just some small pavement that we're just proposing to cut on our property and get rid of it.
Got it. All right.
Basically
Thank you.
replace with the material that's there.
No, thank you for that.
Okay.
I think we have to continue it. Period.
Yeah, well, they're gonna work on the septic anyways.
Yep.
And what do we have for availability?
I would say go to 12.5.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
And I would like it, just to restate that I would like to know the difference in the overall dimensions of the
Existing versus proposed.
Correct, exactly. Thank you, Doug.
You guys, Dan is muted and he's on the site. He can answer that question for you right now. He's the architect.
All right, let's answer a question.
Has he got his hand up?
No, I can just see him sitting here and it says Dan and
I
it
see,
says.
I just unmuted him. Dan, you're on.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you. The total square footage of the new house is 31, or the proposed house is 3122. I don't have the exact of the existing house though, unfortunately.
Then I'd
can
like to see that.
Certainly have
before
that ready for the
we-
next meeting.
Perfect.
I think it's in the 900s, but I don't.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
We'll have the exact numbers for the next meeting.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Make a
Motion to
motion.
continue to 12:05.
It's Richard. Do we have a second?
Second,
That's Penny. All in favor, Doug,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Frank, yes. And you got an idea, Josh, of what we're looking for?
Yep, I've got, so the square footage between existing and proposed. I'll confirm the species if I can of the plant that's on the dunes. And I think those were the two items because the other one was just architectural cross sections, but we provided those.
Yeah, we're gonna look at the wall as well. We get out to the meeting. It'd be good to see what you got from input from Board of Health on where that tank is gonna go. Anybody else?
No.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
You know, 1 Tilden Ave. On 11/7/22, 6 PM, the town, excuse me, Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under chapter 131, section 40, Mass General Laws, and section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of near Dory for work related to installing septic tight tank at a family dwelling located at 1 Tilden Ave, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting is available on the agenda posted on the website. Good evening.
Good evening. This is Gregory Morse, registered engineer on behalf of the applicant. As was just read into the record, this is a notice of intent filing at 1 Tilden Ave on behalf of the property owner near Drury. This is a septic system project. The property itself is approximately 653 square feet in total lot size, has an existing 1-bedroom home on it in a failed septic system. The property is located on a coastal beach down at the end of Glades Road. It's also in land subject to coastal storm flowage, which is classified as an AE at elevation 15. For reference, this site sits at approximately elevation 11. Because of the small size of this site, we're really constricted with respect to a new septic system. What we're proposing to do is to install 2 new tight tanks. The tight tanks would be located between the existing home and the Tilden Ave roadway. There'd be no change in the ground surface elevation over these tanks. These are approximately 4 foot in diameter by 4 foot deep. They would be installed with a mini excavator. It's an existing gravel area. It would be gravel surface over the top of them when they are done. This does require Board of Health variances. We are going in front of the Board of Health next week. So I'd entertain any questions or comments that you have, but ultimately I believe we need to continue this out until after Board of Health approval, as we are seeking variances with this. I turn it over to you.
That's a tight site.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doug, you want to take that one first?
Well, I don't see much option. I think nobody would choose a tight tank if they didn't have to. So, and I think there's no room to do anything else with it. So, no, I don't really have, it's a crawl space. Yeah. So, no, I'm good. Board of Health will have to approve the tight tank, but from my perspective, what they gotta do. Relocate the water line too, geez. Yeah, it's kind of a tight and kind of a mess.
Mm. Okay, I see there's a couple of hands up and we'll get to you. We'll go through the members and then we'll go to the folks that have their hand up. Amy, did I ask you if you had any comments? I'm sorry.
You didn't yet, but I don't have any comments. DEP had no comments. Did get issued a file number, and I agree with the resource areas that Greg said. It's a tight site. I mean, I think it would be a win to get a septic system that's not failed here.
Right. Okay. Richard?
I agree with what Doug and Amy said. I got nothing else.
Okay. Penny?
No, I don't see any options here. Except what's on the plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Brendan?
Yeah, I have no questions, no.
Okay. We have a couple of folks with their hands up, so
All right, I'm gonna unmute Francis O'Mara.
okay. Just give us your name and address, please.
My name is Francis O'Mara. My address is 15 Judges Hill Drive in Norwell, Massachusetts. And I appreciate being given an opportunity to speak before the board tonight. The O'Mara family, including myself, have owned the property, the abutter, just to the east of the site. We've owned that property since the 1950s. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of myself and on behalf of the abutter Dennis Richardson, who's on the other side of this mess. I spoke with him for an hour tonight. He's in Virginia. He's sorry he can't be here, but he and I are in one voice in terms of what we feel here. This property has for decades been misused. And now finally, someone is going to ask you good folks with the Board of Health to take a 10-foot requirement on these tight tanks and reduce it to 2 inches. And also to take a 10-foot requirement from the building foundation. It's also less than 10 feet from Dennis's foundation. No one mentions that. Allows the reduction. It's basically 20 feet. It's supposed to be 10 feet in one and 10 in the other. 20 feet, you've got 6 inches. It's not fair to the town. It's not fair to you, this board. It's not fair to the people down here who I've been neighborly with for 70 years. We don't want this. We don't want this to come in under this sort of a situation. There's also a requirement that it's 2,000 gallons and suddenly reduced to 600. The gentleman who bought this at auction, I don't know him. I know he's a local builder, as am I from time to time. And there was no question that there was due diligence done by him, knowing full well that this is not a buildable lot, which is why none of the other members of the association that I'm in, Minor Beach Association, got involved with it. We were going to let Dennis take it, knock it down, and just have a couple of parking spots for himself, which he desperately needed, which is the best way to get rid of this albatross. Now, the fact that this gentleman has decided folks to give him all these approval requests and variance requests is not fair to the community. It should not be allowed. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And we have another hand up.
We do. It's Bill Graham. I'll unmute Bill Graham.
Okay, Bill.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Bill.
Okay, good, thank you. Bill Graham, 14 Tilden Ave, about 5 houses removed from this location. This is a house that was condemned by the Board of Health for not having a septic system. It probably hasn't had a septic system for at least 20 years, and the board has looked aside from it for a long time. Finally, we got some action on it, and it was condemned. This was bought at auction for an investment for a builder. And the location of this, the proposed 300-gallon tanks is in front of the house on the edge of Tilden Ave.
Yeah.
If you look at the size of the building and the lot from the Registry of Deeds, it's on the west side, it's 35 feet long, and the house is 33 feet long. So you only have 2 feet of clearance in the front of the building, and you're going to put a 4-foot tank in. As far as the mass regulations, it calls for a minimum of a 2,000-gallon tight tank, not a 600 that would have to be continuously pumped. If you look at the diagrams of the property, the proposed layout of the interior of the house, the second floor is for 1 bedroom, and then it has a sitting room that's the same size as the bedroom and another storage room that's the same size as the bedroom. It looks as though it could be used for a larger accommodation than 1 bedroom. It's just the wrong repair for the site. The house should be removed, put on pilings if necessary, put a legitimate septic system in there. This has been an eyesore for the community for a long, long time, and it should not be allowed to be continued to abuse the neighbors.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
May I respond?
Sure.
Thank you. This is Greg Morse again. This house was built right around 1900 per the assessor's records. It certainly has fallen into disrepair. It's an unfortunate chain of events that brought us to where we are today. But what you'll notice on the plan is on the north side of this house, the house actually overlaps the property line. It goes on to the abutting property. There's an encroachment there for sure. So while the property is only 35 feet deep, as the abutter noticed on that west side, the building does overlap that lot line. Not uncommon down in this area. There was an existing septic system at this property. It really wasn't even a septic system. What it was a 55-gallon drum that was buried in the soil. Again, very common on extremely old beach cottages like this. That drum was disturbed, I believe, when the gas company was installing a new gas service to an abutting property. When that drum was disturbed, it put this property into a downward spiral even further, in the fact that the Board of Health did condemn the house because no septic system was in place. The former owner could not financially provide a new septic system. Now you have a new owner that's come along and purchased the property. Any of the abutters certainly could have purchased the property if they chose to do so. We're not proposing this as a buildable lot. This is an existing home. Under Title V, we are allowed to ask for variances in extenuating circumstances. Given that there's an existing home at this site, and given the constraints with the property lines and limited lot size, I think we meet those requirements. The Board of Health will be the one to make the determination next week with respect to the setbacks. The setback that we're asking for are the same setbacks that the abutters on either side have already achieved themselves, or would need to achieve if they were to put in Title V systems on their properties. You know, it's hard on sites like this, where you don't have compliance with zoning bylaws, you don't have compliance with conservation bylaws. We try to come up with what we consider a best fit or a best fix scenario. We think this is the best path to move forward, keeping this property on the payroll. We have an owner that's willing to invest the money to repair this situation here. DEP had no comments on this, and this is not new construction. This is not an increase in flow. We're simply asking to repair what was already damaged at this site. Turn it back to you.
Thank you, Greg. Is there anybody, any other members, Amy, want to comment? Bill?
We have another hand up.
Well, we got Bill, we'll take it, but I think we've heard most of the things, but go ahead.
Okay, there are many other violations with this home. One is that it only has one method of egress. And
But you realize this is a conservation hearing, right?
I know, but the whole structure is in such violation.
But that's the building department or the board. I mean, I understand your frustration, but as a conservation commission, we're trying to deal with the issues that are, we have purview.
Okay,
to.
does the board have purview over the state regulation of the 2,000 gallon tank?
That would be the Board of Health.
Okay,
So I mean, ours is basically there's a disturbance in a resource area. And we're trying to look at this from that standpoint. I mean, I think we get what you're saying. But in terms of Conservation Commission right now, we're looking at a failed system. And some means to satisfy that, but we don't vote on septic systems, whether these will be all right or not. We basically are trying to see if this is compliant with that area. And I see your concerns. Maybe there's another alternative that the applicant needs to consider. Making the property smaller to accommodate the correct tank or setbacks or something like that, but I don't know that that's within our purview.
okay.
But I don't think we're going to close this anyways.
Okay, Franco, one other question. So because we're not familiar with all the processes, it came before you tonight for conservation. Is the next step the Board of Health and then the building department, or how does it work?
Amy? I believe the Board of Health has to review this. Greg, where do you stand?
We're gonna continue for Board of Health is what I would say we're continuing for, but if there's other variances that are required, I'm not sure about that. I don't think so.
Yes, the Board of Health will review this at their meeting next Monday night.
Next Monday, okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Greg, I have a quick question for you. Just looking at these 300-gallon poly tight tanks. So why do they set it up almost like a septic tank when it's just a tight tank? So it's going in almost like a septic system with T's. I mean, there's no filter or anything, but why aren't they just two tanks tied together? I'm just curious.
I really can't tell you why the T's are in place. Those really aren't necessary, in my opinion. It's a Title V requirement that the T's be there, though, even in a tight tank scenario. How this is laid out is the flow from the house flows into the first tank. And then when that fills up, to full capacity, it overflows into the second tank. And at that point in time, when the second tank is, about half full, an alarm is triggered inside the house, which says, essentially, you've got, 24 hours to coordinate and get a septic pump truck there to pump the system out. Realistically, that 24 hours is much longer. Most people aren't using the flow that Title V designates, 110 gallons a day per bedroom. Typically it's about half of that, but we design it oversized for that scenario. The waiver that we're asking here is the one that the abutter brings up, which is typically with a tight tank, you're asking for a 2,000 minimum gallon capacity. We just don't have the area on this site to accommodate that. That's why we have 600 gallon capacity with these two tanks.
Yeah, it seems like they're pushing it, but Amy, anything else we want to add to that, or how far out do we want to move this?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Maybe I missed it. I was sleeping, I think. Is this house on a foundation, Greg?
I believe it's on little piers, little concrete piers. It's not on a full foundation, no. It's just a crawl space under it.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Is this a year-round house, seasonal home? Do we know?
I think it's just a seasonal home.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we'd like to hear from Board of Health, but I also get the abutters concerns. I mean, to me, this just seems like a real reach. It's certainly better than having sewage flow directly into the ground, but it's.
Be interested to see what Board of Health says.
Yeah. Amy, do we have any other purview with this?
Not at this point. They're just looking for a septic system.
Okay.
So when do you want to continue it to?
If we can continue for 2 weeks, that would be great.
I don't know, Amy?
If it's straightforward like that and we're not expecting any revisions, I'd say that 11/21 should work.
Okay,
All right.
so I'll make a motion, Frank.
Yep.
I make a motion to continue 1 Tilden Ave to November 22nd, 21st, I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's Penny. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Brendan, all in favor? Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
53 Collier Road.
Yeah,
And this was continued.
yeah.
Do we have anybody for 53 Collier?
He wants, the guy that wants to repair the stones.
Well, yeah, so Frank, so this was continued so that you guys could take a walk out there,
Yep.
Did that.
which you did. And also the owner sent us pictures of what he'd like to do. And then I also sent you guys aerials, historical aerials. But and I
Right.
do believe Mr. Alvarez is on the phone. So here, I'm gonna unmute him.
Okay.
All right, he's on.
I'm on.
Yep. Mr. Alvarez,
Yes,
you know, just state your name and address, please.
Alex Alvarez, 53 Collier Road.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So why don't you explain to us what you'd like to do, sir?
Yeah, so during some of the storms, a little bit of the rock wall fell down, and want to put that back up. The contractor told me that I'd need some more crushed stone to seat the rocks, and probably, you know, he said at most 7 rocks the same size as what's there now, so that they would fit well, because he needed rocks with sharp edges to, you know, interlock and hold up.
Okay.
And we have access next door. My next door neighbor whose house is under construction has told us we can just go down the side of his house. So we don't have to go, you know, further away to get to the, you know.
Do we have a plan or anything, or we have some photos? Do we have any?
Yeah, I submitted a plan to where I marked the spot on the plan. That was in the presentation the first time, I think.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
There it is.
Okay, and we had an opportunity to walk out there. We were looking at a few different sites, so we had a chance to get and see that. Mr. Alvarez, I'm just wondering, we're just looking at some different photos, different time photos, and it seems like this area is actually expanded. Just wondering if you have any.
So, yeah.
I mean,
since
usually in most cases, these things are shrinking, but your property actually expanded.
The stones.
Yeah, so I don't think I actually expanded. My property actually goes another 100 feet. Actually, I think it's another 200 feet towards the ocean. Right, so that
hasn't changed, right?
No, I'm not talking about your property lines. I'm talking about the seawall and the area behind it. When we look at some older photos, aerial photos, it seems like this is smaller, and then maybe around 2017 or 18, this seems to have grown.
Yeah, so if you recall, there was a winter where we had like 4 really bad storms in a row.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my backyard was damaged then. And the governor had gave the 30-day, which turned into a 60-day period where you could repair the damage.
Correct.
So that's what we did.
Okay. But that order allowed people to put back what existed, not to expand.
Well, I put back rocks. There were rocks there before. I put, some extra rocks to, stabilize it, but, I had to do that or my house would have washed away.
And that was the reason for that order. And as a contractor, we did similar things, but typically we repaired what was existing. I guess
it's not like I built, a pier that went out to the breakwater, right?
Right.
I think I did the minimum that one would expect to do to protect the house. And
Okay.
And I get that, it didn't go through this, through the committee, it didn't go through the review.
Well, there was an opportunity to repair things, which was allowed. That was permissible.
Right.
As long as it didn't exceed what was there prior.
Weren't you supposed to file afterwards, Frank? And after the fact, I thought.
Yes.
We did file the thing with the state, and I think you guys have a copy of it in your files too.
I don't know.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, let's see. Richard?
I don't have a real problem with the repair, and I did not make the trip out there, but from the pictures, I don't have a real problem, and certainly no questions right now.
Okay. Doug?
No, I don't. And based on your comment, I was going to do a little research here about, did you look at a compilation of old photos versus
Yes.
current?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you've already gone through that, and you
You should have those too, Doug, because they were sent to you too.
Unfortunately, there's no dimensioning with these. This just shows. I mean, there was something out in front there, and it's obviously from an aerial photo.
Well, and if you went back to 1999 when I bought the property, the whole beach area was a good 6 to 10 feet higher than it is now. So if we want to consider what you go back to, if we go back far enough, I could probably fill all the way to the jetty.
No, I don't think you could, but.
Well, that's what I mean. Where do you like?
Well, I think what we're trying to just figure out is what was there.
There was a lot of beach there that washed away. That's what was there.
Right. But.
And there was a rock wall there.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for in these earlier pictures.
Well, and since there was a lot of beach there, there's no way you can tell from an aerial picture how far down that rock wall went.
That's one of the issues I'm having when I look at this.
Yeah, so that's the benefit, Frank, of a notice of intent, is that you're gonna get that accuracy on what's there and that elevations and from
what's a notice of intent?
So a notice of intent. Well, Amy, why don't you?
Well, a notice of intent is the application that you request a project under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate bylaw for projects pursuant to our regs. But anyways, in one of the requirements is for a scaled surveyed plan so that we can actually see what's going on.
So that's
there is
really.
like a request for determination of applicability is just a yes or a no answer.
So I'd like to go for the yes or the no answer first, because that notice of intent sounds like I need to get surveyors and lawyers and stuff.
I don't know about lawyers, but you're right. So what you filed is a request for a determination, which basically says to the commission, do we think that this requires a notice of intent or not? And I think
So one thing that I've noticed is I submitted this, I submitted it with pictures. The first time that it came up, those pictures didn't make it in. You know, when you guys came out and looked at it, did it look like a big thing to you?
I think I wouldn't say it's a big thing, but I think what we're looking at has work been done to this, and maybe should there have been additional permitting prior to what you've done here over the years and the improvements that you've made? Should you actually have been permitting this in a different fashion?
But I made those repairs during a period in time when no permitting was required.
I understand that,
So I
but
think that's a moot point.
but well, if the repairs that you did were greater than putting back what was existing, then it's not a moot point.
Can I ask a couple clarifying questions, Mr. Alvarez?
Sure.
So how long have you owned the property?
Since 1999, I think.
Okay, so I'm trying to help with this a little bit, Frank. Now this is really rough. I'm not out there with an instrument or anything like that, but did the stones go in like in 2018?
I don't remember exactly, but I think that's probably right.
So based upon a time lapse here with aerial technology here, the little area behind the house where it's kind of leveled out, and I guess I'll call it a yard, between 2017 and 2018, it expanded a little bit, and I'm measuring just a few feet, Frank.
Yep.
So, but the stone wall itself, that width of that wall is probably a few feet itself.
Right.
So if you know, there's a visible difference you can see with a snapshot between 17 and 18, and that difference is a few feet. At the deepest spot, it kind of curls around and then ties back into pretty much exactly the way it is now. So it would not be a expansion.
Right.
If the stones were placed in 2018, is that when the storm was, by the way?
Yeah, 2018.
Riley. Yep.
That was Riley.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I'm looking at then, is the stones. So they were placed in a place where there really wasn't
Yep.
stones. So it's substantively the same area, the way I look at it. That like it's not, it doesn't look like to me like there were, you know, we're not talking about
They didn't go out 10 or 12 feet or something like that.
Exactly. You could give him, you know, a few feet, and to me, if there had been a storm there, I don't know that things have been damaged, and then he probably went along to what it was existing. You add in the width of the stone, and then ever since 2018, 18, it hasn't changed at all.
Mhm.
Again, I'm using, because you can do this on Google Earth. You can go snapshots all the way back to 1995 or 1985, which I see nothing at that point, but because the images weren't everywhere, but I can get back into the 90s. So, like, I guess I'm just trying to satisfy that one question. If there was a change in that area, I don't consider it substantive. It would be small in terms of a few feet.
Okay.
In the deepest area. And not some big, like, giant increase.
Sure.
that-
No, I get it. And I appreciate you looking at that because I'm just trying to look at these plans that we have here.
So here's one of the things though, right, Frank, is that the wall perhaps grew in size after that storm, right? And it
Yeah.
also, it changed in the way that now it's a constructed like actual structure with like the terms angular stones and how it's kind of fitting together more like a puzzle. That the thing about it is that that's not something that you would permit these days.
Mhm.
Because because nowadays, since 1978 at least, so ever since then, that unless you had a pre-existing constructed revetment, you're not building new ones anymore. Now you're taking existing cobbles or bigger stones that are rounded, and you're stacking them maybe and making dunes and so you've got bank here and you've got dune and you've got obviously this is right at the end of where there is the town revetment, but you've got a lot of action in this area. So you've got wave action, you've got water, things are moving around quite a bit. So I just think that you need to consider whether or not you would have allowed this to begin with, you know what I mean? So that's where I'm kind of thinking about it.
Yeah, so Amy, there was no wave action or stuff moving around when we moved here in 1999. That was basically dry beach all the way up to where you probably can see the grass in the Google Earth. And the issues began when the town wall started collapsing, which now during the storms is largely ineffective.
Yeah, it's a tough location. And so I think that nowadays what we would do, and this is what the commission permitted for the property to the right, or the Browns property where you'd be getting access, that they spent quite a lot of time reviewing the dune and the bank on that property and working with them to get a kind of a nourished, moved cobble dune, something that will move around with the different with the coastal environment.
Yeah, the difference is their house is set back much further, much closer to the road and further than to the beach than my house, right? My house was built on a piece of land that was raised. And if that wall that's to the east is actually a retaining wall that goes all the way down that was, existing when we bought the house and probably long before that, right? So I think it's substantially different than my next door neighbor, right? And I know you mentioned a problem with the 67 Collier Road, but that's not me either.
Right, that's 5 houses down, yes.
Right.
They work with them on what's going on there, but not what they built, just to be clear about that.
Yeah, I'm just saying none of my neighbors, are the same as me.
Yeah, and all of the sites, every location is considered individually and independently. For sure.
Okay. Well, let's keep moving through commission members, I guess. And Doug, Richard, I'm sorry, did I ask you?
Richard's muted.
Rich, you did ask me. Thank you.
Okay. Penny,
At this point in time, I say repair it, but don't enlarge it ever again.
Yeah, we have no plans to enlarge it.
Or you come to us for even one stone.
well, he's in front of us now, which is great.
Yeah, I know. What I'm saying, from here on, make sure you come before us. Because obviously after 18, it was enlarged.
Yeah,
How much I don't know, you know, but it does need a little repair over on the side there, but do not enlarge it anymore. That's my feeling, Frank.
Okay. Brendan,
Yeah, I have a question. So I think, believe, you know, it was said that the beach was higher, or we can't tell how far down the wall went prior to 18. Could you tell us? Like how, like what was?
So I have no idea how far down the rocks went, because when we bought that house, there was a stair where you took, you know,
Tanya?
it was essentially the height of 1 or 2 railroad ties from the level of my yard to the beach. And now it's probably an 8-foot drop, right? So a lot of land, a lot of rocks, a lot of stuff washed away during those 4 storms after the town wall collapsed. So I don't know what was under those 8 feet of whatever.
So in 2017 or like 2018, before you added the new wall here.
Right, and there's a big retaining wall down the left-hand side of my property there. Right, if you see where it says like existing dwelling there on the right-hand side of the picture.
Yeah.
That's a retaining wall, and if you look at that retaining wall in various spots, it goes pretty far down, right? Because this piece of land was I guess filled in or built up once upon a time.
Okay. Thank you.
all right. Anybody else? Doug, thanks for taking the time to pull that up.
You're welcome.
So I think you get the gist of commission members that, you know, we get it that you want to protect your property. And we also understand that you made this work during that period of time. And that situation out there is certainly changing between that seawall that the town has and the depth and the amount of material. But at the same time, we have regulatory issues to deal with when it comes to these pieces. And we appreciate that you're here before us to do this work as opposed to not doing that. So, but I think you also got the gist of the commission that we want to make sure that that any work that's done there is minimal, just what's necessary.
Yep, absolutely.
I think that's pretty clear. All right, can I get a motion?
I make a motion for -3.
That's
Seconded.
Penny. I was second from Richard. All in favor, Doug,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay. Good enough. That's it.
All right.
All right. So you need to get I guess check with Jen or Amy. I'll need some paperwork before you get started. All right. Thank you. Atlantic Ave. This was continued, right?
I think we should continue it again until we get out there.
All right.
Yeah, why are we?
This is the road repair.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I had written to the couple of guys that filed this, but I didn't hear back. That you guys didn't have a chance to get out there yet, so I would say that you should continue it to that December meeting.
Oh,
12/5.
Yeah,
okay. Make a motion, Penny?
Yeah, I make a motion to continue Atlantic Ave from Seaview to Bartlett to December 5th.
I'll second it.
All in favor? That was Richard for a second. All in favor? Doug,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Thank you. Okay, 184 Clap Road. During the 6 p.m. meeting, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Pandon Ventures Partners LLC for determination of applicability to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetland bylaws for activities related to a septic repair at a single-family dwelling located at 184 Clap Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meetings available on the agenda posted on the town website. And I just I'm not an immediate abutter, but I'm sort of diagonally across the street from that, but I don't have any reason to think that's a problem if anybody else doesn't.
No.
Okay, and who do we have on for this one?
This is Greg Morse with Morse Engineering.
Hey, Greg.
Thanks. Good evening. This is a request for a determination of applicability. The property is located at 184 Clap Road. The project is a septic system repair for the existing home at that site. The wetlands at the property were delineated by Brad Holmes, a professional wetland scientist, on June 13th of 2022. You'll see at the bottom of the screen here highlighted in blue is the BVW. In red is the 50-foot buffer zone, and in green is the 100-foot buffer zone extending onto the site. Also off-site, kind of at the top right of the plan, it's not depicted, it's off locus, but there is a vernal pool out in the woods. That vernal pool, the 250-foot setback to it, we've highlighted in the purple line that you see there. This is an existing house. There's a failed cesspool between the house and Clap Road. The proposal is to put a new system in its place. It's a 1,500-gallon septic tank in a Presby EnviroSeptic leaching field. It is a gravity-fed septic system. The system is entirely outside of the 50-foot buffer zone, although some grading does extend into the 50. The area that's proposed for disturbance is existing lawn area. It would be restored as lawn area when the project is done. It is not an increase in flow. There's an erosion control barrier around the limit of work, and this has been approved by the Board of Health. We think it meets the criteria for a negative determination. I turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Doug?
I don't really have any questions other than I'm always trying to get myself educated. Greg always comes in with these systems I'm not as familiar with, like the angle of that system. So the trenches themselves, or I mean the pipes themselves going in the long direction there, those are still flat?
Yeah, so this is a this is set up kind of like a leaching field, Doug. It is a big rectangular sand bed. There are a total of 15 pipes that go across it. Each of those pipes are stepped a little bit in elevation, so that from the high end of the field to the low end of the field, there is almost 2 feet of difference. We did that to try to blend into the topography as much as we could out there and, you know, reduce the mound height on this.
Yeah,
system.
it helps keep the
Yeah.
fill down. I was worried that do you have to worry about, are they perforated pipes?
They are perforated pipes, yes.
Do you have to worry about the upper elevated pipes breaking out into the lower elevated pipes?
No, you
that's not a
don't,
concern?
just because of it's such a small difference between the pipes, you know, one to the next one.
Yeah.
That's not a concern.
Yeah, that kind of really helps to be able to design something like that for the same reason, like that you'd have a lot more grading into those the setback, area if you made that level, like a typical field. So
Exactly.
it takes the curse off the grading by quite a bit.
It does. It's a nice option in the right scenario.
Yeah, I would have made a lot of people happy if I would have been able to do that. In days gone by, but no, thanks. No, no other questions.
Okay. Penny,
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Brendan, your neck of the woods.
Yes, it is. I don't believe I have any questions.
Okay, Richard
I'm good, thank you.
and Amy, I forgot to get your,
Yeah,
input.
I'm also good. We, on sites like these, we typically we'd say they meet the findings of a negative RDA or determination, although we do not accept the wetland line as lines as shown.
so the resource
Okay.
areas are,
They're just not confirmed, that's all.
right,
But the plan sounds fine. Well, it sounds good. Let's do
Okay.
it.
at first, when I looked at it, I questioned, I mean, there's a fair amount of property there that's above this, that's not shown on the plan. But if you look at the limit for the vernal pool, this gets it about as far from the vernal pool as they're able to
Yeah.
install it. So that makes more sense. I do, Greg, though, and I've spoken to the builder that's there. When the Conservation Commission, were creating Bates Lane and the parking up there, we had a couple of poles installed for a sign for Bates Lane. And the applicant or his contractor or whatever sawed those poles off and then went through a section of the wall to get into that. And they've told us that they're going to replace the poles. But I want to make sure we get those.
Because we already paid for them.
Sure.
And actually, I'm fine with them going on the other side of the road. They might actually be a little more visible. They originally installed it sort of like where the property line runs along Clap Road and then up Bates Lane. So they were on
Yeah.
town, what property? They were outside the stone wall. But when they were trying to get into the site, for whatever reason, they chose that spot and kind of ripped them out of the ground. So if we could
Yeah,
get
I
those.
will reiterate that to the builder out here. Sure.
Okay. And I'm happy to take a look at it with them, give them a location or whatever, but we want to get those replaced.
Okay.
But it's nice to see that house being restored the way they're doing it. That's for sure. Anybody that's been out there, they've jacked that house up and
Yeah, moved it.
pretty cool. All right. Take a motion.
Audience,
Do we have anybody in the audience?
No.
I didn't see any hands.
I'll make a motion for -3.
As Richard, about a second.
I'll second that.
Brendan's got that one. All in favor? Doug,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes,
and Frank, yes. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Okay, down to the home stretch. Liaison reports, do we have any? Penny?
no, I'm going, I put in an application with CPC to get funding for the Mordecai Lincoln driveway to get that leveled off and a parking area put in. And other than that, Howard and I are gonna be going up soon. Mark off a path on the outer edge of the property.
Okay, great.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Amy?
Why don't we go to request for minor modification?
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
Kevin Brady's on the call for this, and Jen, maybe you have a plan too. I'm gonna unmute Kevin. Oh, there he is.
Something
Okay.
about the sidewalk.
Okay,
Thank you.
All right.
Can you hear
Good
me?
evening. Yep.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Kevin Grady from Grady Consulting, representing the applicant for a minor modification at 1416 Old Country Way. This received a order of conditions in looks like October of 2020, 2 years ago, for these residential units. There's 8 total units at the time that the commission issued the order of conditions. The existing site had a driveway on the west side, the northwest side, an existing driveway up near the red balloons at the top of the lot there. So there was an existing driveway. The DPW installed sidewalks while that existing driveway was in. So that sidewalk that they installed has a granite curb, so it's elevated 7 inches. And then it has transitions down to the existing driveway. It goes across the existing driveway and then transitions back up. The DPW would like to close off that driveway. They would like the owner to saw cut the pavement and install granite curbing and elevate that section of the sidewalk, the 7 inches above the road that it would be if there wasn't a driveway there at the time that they installed it. So I'm gonna saw cut, basically excavate just a little bit, probably less than a foot total. Compact it, install the granite curbing, and then pave. So that's a section that's probably 30 feet. It is inside your 50-foot no disturb zone across the street from that culvert. We are proposing to put a silt sock there during the construction. The construction, if they go real slow, it might take a week. Granite curbing might take a little bit, but they'll probably knock that right out since they don't want to be blocking the road and working in there very long. And then it's going to be, it'll be stabilized right afterwards because it's granite and paving. And then down to the south, a similar scenario. The DPW installed a transition down to the crosswalk, concrete transition down to the crosswalk, and then they installed the crosswalk across the street. DPW would like the owner to extend the sidewalk to the new proposed driveway. That's in the other red balloon section. And basically what you're looking at is a transition up a sidewalk elevated 7 inches with a granite curb, and then a transition back down to the roadway grade. So the sidewalk is essentially there, but we just need to block off and reconnect to the new driveway configurations. I think we're protecting the resource area with the erosion control. Again, it's going to be stabilized instantly afterwards and be put back together. And it's at the request of the DPW. So I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay. Richard?
No, I don't think I have any right now, Frank.
Okay. Doug?
No, no questions.
Penny?
Seems pretty
No.
straightforward.
Thank you.
Brendan?
No,
Amy, you want to add anything to this?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward, and I mean, the work is in the roadway, it's within subject to jurisdiction, but it's covered under the existing orders, I would say. So I think you can accept this as a minor mod.
Okay. Do we want to vote that, or your kids tell you it's okay to?
Yes, a vote would be good.
Okay, so I'll take a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the modification. Request 1416 Old Country Way.
I'll second that.
From Doug, so all in favor, Richard
Yes.
and Brendan,
yes,
Frank, yes. Just while we get you on the phone, you've been on the site and the erosion control and stockpiles and everything. I see that they're out there starting to work.
Sure.
All that stuff's in place. As on the plan.
Yes.
Okay.
We have a pre-construction meeting. Amy, are you included in that? I believe with Karen, and I think it's in the next few days.
So you've torn down the building, but you haven't really started the site work, is that?
Right, we got a demolition permit. We gave Mylars to the planning board for endorsement. Everything's approved. We're just finishing the endorsement.
Okay. Great.
Well,
Yeah,
thanks
the
for your help.
pre-construction's
Go ahead.
on Wednesday. Yep.
Okay,
Okay, great. Appreciate it.
all right.
Can I ask
Thanks,
Kevin
everybody. Yeah.
can I ask Kevin a real quick question?
Sure.
This is not really related to an application. This is a technical question because this was brought up. Somebody else that has submitted plans
Sure.
is like, these are PDF files, Kevin, the hatching that you have, and you guys are gonna laugh at me for asking these questions, but the hatching that you have in there is how dark it is. Is it that way on your PDF file?
Which hatching?
So down on the
all of it?
lower, yeah, all of it.
Yep.
Is it that on your own when you make the PDF?
No,
What I'm
oh, do I have that? I gotta find the same sheet here. Yeah, it's similar. It's not quite as dark, Doug.
Okay. The reason why somebody mentioned to me that they thought when our PDF viewers that we're looking at on these meetings, the line work is darker than they intended it, and it makes some of the plans harder to read.
I would agree with that. It's I don't know, 10 or 15% if I was to kind of guess a number on it. It's not outrageously different.
All right, we can
Is this
ask.
gonna be like some kind of physics question next or something?
It's
I mean,
not, it's not,
well-
I knew you'd go after it. I
Uh,
thought I thought I'd ask Seth that like, I don't know what we're doing when we're projecting these things, but some of these really busy plans with lots of lines,
it gets confusing.
gets
Doug, I know-
confusing. The applicant is, somebody reached out to me and said, like, my plan doesn't look like that, but at the meeting, it looks horrible.
I just figured you
So-
guys did that to try to hide stuff.
Yes, under that hatching, there's the proposed 16-family dwelling.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Doug,
right.
you can relate to this, but to complicate it on my side, this was a Ross plan that I needed to use their CTB files and integrate into our stuff.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we know that you know what you're doing.
All right, thanks,
right.
everybody.
It's almost
Yep.
8 o'clock.
Yeah,
I
no-
knew it was Paul. I knew it was Paul's fault somehow.
Another bus hit him. All right.
All right, see you guys.
Have a good night. What else we got? Did you do all that just to lead up to running Paul over?
Yeah. I can't help myself.
I hope he's watching. A certificate of compliance for 146 Tilden Road. 146 Tilden Road.
Where's Amy?
Where was that? 146 Tilden.
Did Amy go home?
Yeah, she'll be right back. What else do we have here? Orders and
Also 20
conditions.
Folkswell.
Yeah.
Extensions. We could do the extensions.
Okay. So we have requests for extending. Do we know time?
I think 2 years.
What's that?
I think I can extend them for 2 years.
You can do that?
I think so.
Okay.
I make a motion, we extend for 2 years, 96 Hummerock Beach Road, Scituate Dog Park, 167 Driftway, 74 Glades and 35 Surfside Road.
I'll second it.
What's a motion by Penny, a second by Richard, all in favor, Doug,
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't, The orders of condition, I read them all. And I believe we can include Edward Foster now. Yes. Because we said we were going to issue tonight. So I make a motion, we accept the orders of condition 148 Tilden Ave. That's Tilden Road, 154 Tilden Road, 19 Wood Island Road, 126 Kent Street, 3A Utility Improvement Project, 17th Circuit, 7 New Driftway, and I don't know if 327 is ready or not. There was a Board of Health or something. So let's hold that one out. And 184 Edward Foster. Those orders as written and one.
Hold on a minute, Steve.
All right, I see.
See, we got a hand up from Mr. Bjorklund. Can you unmute him? Steve,
Okay, can you hear me now?
we got you.
Okay. I read through the conditions and the conditions themselves are okay, but I think you guys want to check on 148 Tilden Road on your continued conditions. If you look at number 42, which is the invasive plant management,
Yeah,
it's underlined like you might want it continued, but it's not listed as a continued condition. And on 43, condition 43, for the markers out there, it says that it's supposed to continue past, but it's not listed on number 46 as your continued condition. And also 46 should be continued. So I think you need to decide whether you want to have 42 be continued or not. And the same one goes true for 154 Tilden. 42 is underlined like you would like it continued, but it's not in the continued conditions. That's the only comments I have. Everything else is great and have no problem.
Miss Amy's not here, but your points are well taken.
I'm here.
Oh.
Want me to go through that again?
No,
Okay, did you get that, Amy?
I heard you.
Okay, yeah, because the markers on number 154 are listed as a continued condition, but on 148, they're not, and that's condition number 43. And then I think you also want to, on 148, you want to write 46 as a continued condition. And then I guess it's up to the commission if they want, on both of them, if they want number 42 to be continued or not. And that's my only comments. And 42 is the invasive plant management, which is down behind the stone wall.
Yeah,
It
right.
doesn't really matter. I mean, it can be done once, or if you guys want them to have the ability to continue to remove invasives from back there, you could let that go in perpetuity. Makes no difference to me at all. I just want to make sure that you guys get it the way that you want.
Amy, do you have a thought or preference on that?
I do not.
Well, I think it sounds like a good idea to continue anything we can forever.
Well, it means that you're going to allow someone to continue to do work out there.
But go get invasive species. I mean,
Can I recommend if you do that in continuance, that it's under the supervision of somebody like Brad Holmes or someone like that?
yeah. I don't know. Do what you want.
Well, we're kind of stuck here. So
It doesn't.
I mean, I think maybe with notification of the commission or something, it's going to be a tough one. But I think that's probably a wise piece. We can edit in those few things. And I think it's probably good that that continues. Okay.
Good, you pointed it out.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, thank you, guys. And thank you for the project as well.
What did we just do we decide about the additional property that's there?
We're going to deed that to the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
That's actually part of my purchase and sales with the people in the back, is that I would get that over to the commission so that that's protected. Because you do own, I think, 2 abutting properties to it.
That's what I my recollection was that we already have some there, so this will expand ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to make it a condition because it is a condition of my purchase and sales agreement. And I will follow through with that.
Okay. All
I know
right,
where you live, Stephen, so you better.
That's right. It won't dare come back.
all right.
Okay.
Well, I doubt
Thank you.
that, but, okay,
All right, so the motion stands to accept all the orders as written and what Stephen just added on.
so he got his hand up again, or is he bowing out? All right. So we got a motion from Penny to a second.
I'll second that.
That's from Doug.
That's a
All
good
in
idea.
favor? Richard,
Yes,
Brendan,
Yes,
Frank, yes.
Amy, 327 Central Ave. I didn't know if you got what you needed for that.
Well, it's the same as a lot of these. There's still things that are missing, but you're voting them anyway, so I think you should probably just vote them since. that's what
Okay.
you're doing.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the orders, the condition for 327 Central Ave is written.
I'll second that. Richard.
It's a second from Richard. All in favor? Doug,
Yes.
Brendan,
yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay,
Okay, we just a
um,
quick one.
modification. So the request for compliance, 46 Tilden Road,
146.
146 Tilden. I just don't remember that project.
Yeah, that was a septic system.
Oh,
in,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
2004. It's actually part of the same project. That was land that was. Yeah,
Okay.
right next door, and they're selling. Anyways, and then. Also, another one was 20 Foxwell was an addition.
Okay. And we're good with those?
I suppose so, yep.
Okay,
Okay.
so we don't even need to vote that, right? You're
No,
good? Okay.
no,
And we voted the extensions.
yep,
What is the conditions? We got some documents to sign. Or anything else?
What,
Anybody?
did you vote in Turner Road? Is that one
No.
of the ones?
no.
Why? Oh, because it's
Why?
not on the list.
Well, it isn't listed.
It is on
and-
my list. Actually, that was on one of my lists of ones that you need to vote.
Oh, 126
Okay,
I'll
Turner.
vote That one too.
Have we got it solved the little problem here with the mitigation? Did they accept the plan I gave you today, Amy? I mean, it's really up to us what we want to do.
Yeah, Frank. If you want to speak on this one. I
So-
just sent out the plans. That's all I did. So you guys can figure it out.
And I'm trying to remember this, the planting and fencing, we're telling them to leave it the way that it was called for, right?
At the meeting, yes, we told them we would give them just enough space to get to the staircase. And then he wanted access underneath the deck. I don't think that's necessary under the deck because they got complete access on the other side under the deck. But I penciled in on their plan, gave it to Amy, how it should be. So we get as much planting as we possibly could. I don't know if they can put that up on the screen for the rest of the board to see. The one that was sent out today.
It was emailed to everybody, Penny.
Oh, did you people look at it?
I don't think I did.
Okay, it gave them enough room, about 4 or 5 feet off the stairs to get in there. And then slanted back towards under the deck. But I personally don't think they need to get under the deck from that side, but it's up to you guys.
I'm just trying to find this.
Yeah. Amy sent it late today. They were, if you remember the original planting plan, they were only planting half of that 50-foot area. And Andy, and I've spoken to Andy about this before he went on vacation, and he agreed with me, no, they would just take. And I rewatched the meeting. And at the end, that's all we said they could have is just enough room to get to the stairs, to get up on the deck. And to plant the rest out, that 50-foot area.
Unfortunately, I don't know why I'm on the town's.
Frank, I sent it at like 11 AM out to you guys. It was a marked up plan that
Yeah,
Penny
I'm trying to open
went
it.
over.
I'm trying to open it. I'm on the town's,
Oh, on the town's laptop. Yeah, I might be able to share it if you want me to. But
maybe if you have it, I just can't open this. I'm trying to open it on my own iPad and I can't get it. I think it's just slow. It was slow tonight. Every time I try to pull something up.
Did you other members look at it?
They're probably still at work.
Who's at
Trying
work?
trying to find it.
Oh. There it is. It's on the screen now.
All right, so the pencil mark with the
Little
X
stars.
is where you think the planting should go to.
Yes, that's what we agreed to at the meeting.
Okay,
I personally don't think they need to have access from this side under the deck. They have it over here. Off their concrete driveway. If I had my way, it would go straight, just that little area in front of those stairs and goes. But that's me.
okay.
I just would like us to get as much as we can planting. They got a very big concrete driveway in a really tough area.
Okay.
So this what we're looking at the screen here, that you're saying that's what we talked about in the meeting,
Yes,
because that's the way I remember it.
yes,
Yeah, because there's the existing driveway or whatever you want to call it, gravel area goes past their property line all the way out to that
yes,
edge of tree. So we were trying to stop access back to there. But
Yeah.
they need access to get to their stairs.
yep, so,
So that's how, this is how I remember it as well.
yeah.
But you're saying that
Well, what happened is they brought us in a planting plan with it going diagonally across. We told them no to that. And this is what they came up with a couple of days ago, the L over here. But I talked to Andy and Andy and I agreed that was not what we said. There's no reason for that huge area. All we told them, if you look on YouTube at the meeting, all we said is, we will give you minimal access to those stairs. And actually in the meeting, Andy said to the back of the stairs, that's it. But, you know, I want to get as much as we can.
Right.
And that is basically what we agreed to at the meeting, what's on there now.
Okay. All right, so does anybody, I was not at that meeting.
No, you weren't. I wish you were.
So do we just want the orders to reflect what Penny's talking about here?
It is how I remember it as well. I remember, having access to those stairs.
That's it, yeah.
because I don't see, I guess I'm looking at is this something different? We got a PDF file. and it said this is from Jeff Lance, who's, by the way, he's got his hand up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get to him.
But, and then I'm looking at the picture that somebody drew a red, yellow, green and black line on it. Looks just like the plan. I'm like, I don't see a conflict. Is there one? Am I missing something?
The line closest to the stairs, I drew on the plan that they submitted to us. Okay? Because the plan they submitted to us is not what we said. They have way too much.
Okay, I have to find that plan.
I think
then.
what Penny's saying is she just,
apologize. Okay.
so what's up on the screen, Doug, in front of us is the plan that was submitted. You can see that it was drawn and then Penny added some X's and a little line, expanding the planting area over towards the house about 6 feet and then sort of down.
Oh, okay. So the conflict is their proposed post and rope fence. You're saying that you want that moved closer to the steps?
To the
Because
steps of the
that's
house.
what we had agreed on at the last meeting. To just
Yeah,
give them minimal access to the stairs. And plan out the rest.
Is there storage that goes under there?
What, under the deck? But
Yeah,
they-
yeah.
well,
I mean, do they have room to get out there? That
Yes. I mean, that's like 10 feet. I mean, this, you're looking at, yeah,
it looks like
And-
what you drew is like maybe a couple feet, 2 or
no,
3 feet away from the stairs. No?
it's 5 feet. Minimal. Actually, the stairs themselves, the landing is huge. You don't even need that. No, they've got plenty of room. I went out to the site too before I did this.
So, well, I think what would make it less subjective is if we had a dimension. Maybe we could come to an agreement on that, like what that dimension would be instead of just a line shown on a plan.
So the distance from the edge of the steps
To
to the line should be 5
to the
feet.
to
5
the
feet.
post to the post and rail fence.
Yeah, should be 5 feet.
All right. I mean, is that enough room to get
Say it's enough
stuff
room
in
to
and out? And I mean, you could walk in and out. Is that all that's needed? I mean, do you have to pull kayaks in and out? I mean, like, I'm not sure what.
Oh, are you talking under the deck? Number one, he's got plenty of room, but he also has that whole other side over by the concrete driveway. And if
True, yeah.
you look
And that,
at the meeting, this is what we agreed to at the meeting.
okay. Yeah, I'm just suggesting we say an actual dimension, so it's not
We can
quite
do
so
that.
subjective.
But no more than 5 feet off those stairs.
Okay,
I mean, that's a lot. If you go out there, you'd be shocked. You know, it's like, holy Toledo, because it's got a huge landing.
Okay. We can hear briefly from Mr. Lance, but it's already 8:15, so. You want to unmute him?
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
All right, thank you. Yeah, well, to answer the one question, I do store kayaks and a rowboat and stuff underneath the deck, but I can certainly get them out the other way as well. What I was more concerned with, and the reason Greg Morris's team drew it the way it did was because of the code for the stairs, the landing. And I think we're within, we're splitting hairs, I guess, but the stairs are about 6 foot wide. And the code is the landing, the room at the bottom of the stairs, you should be able to come out the same distance as the stairs are wide. So I was thinking about 6 feet. So as long as we had 6 feet off the bottom of those stairs, I think, the rest of it, I know I'm kind of at the losing end of this, so the rest of it, I'm willing to accept, to not take up any more of the board's time and move forward. So I think what it would be kind of like where Penny's line is. I'm fine with her moving, it a little bit to the left there. And then kind of probably splitting the difference between where her line goes straight up in front of the stairs and between where Greg's people, Morse Engineering, drew the line. I think he was giving me the 6 foot and probably an extra foot or so buffer. But
Giving you a lot more than 6 feet.
as long as I had 6 foot coming off the stairs for, safety purposes, I just, don't want anybody coming off the stairs late at night and walking down and they trip and fall over the fence.
All right, so Penny, 6 feet off that stair.
That's fine, Frank.
Okay. All right. We can add that to the order. All right.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, so we have to vote on the order. We didn't vote on it.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to accept the order of conditions for 126 Turner Road. The orders as written and the planting plan as depicted here tonight, 6 feet off the stairs. The fence will be
okay.
in plantings.
So that's a motion from Penny. It was second.
I'll second.
Second from Brendan. All in favor, Richard?
Oh,
Rich is falling asleep.
Richard went
he's there.
home.
Doug?
Yes, I see Richard talking, but I don't hear him.
Oh,
How about now?
There we go.
There you go,
There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah, the answer was yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we got, I think I asked everybody in Frank.
Yes, Brendan?
I think Brendan said yes.
Yes, second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, anything else, Penny?
No,
All right,
no.
Amy,
time to go home.
do we get everything
You know what? I think we got everything and more.
and more?
Make
All right. Good enough.
a motion to adjourn.
I like that one. We have a second
I second that.
from Brendan. Very good. All in favor? Doug,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Have a nice evening. Thank you.
Have a
Good
nice
night.
evening, everyone. Take care.
Good night.